Okay, welcome back, everybody, from our vacation, our Passover vacation. It's Professor Raft here at Chapter 9, Human Resource Management, Employee Development. The worst thing, one of the worst things, besides having an awful boss and awful coworkers and a low-paying job, is feeling like you're stuck in a dead-end job, even if you're getting well paid. And I can tell you, I've had some well-paid jobs here and there. Even those well-paid jobs, if they kind of felt dead-end in any way, it kind of turned me off, and it kind of compelled me to look for something else that was more challenging. That's why I really love teaching, because I never feel that it's a dead end, because it's constantly evolving. But in my other endeavors, I've gotten to points where I just felt it was a dead end, and I was overglorified, whatever, and it kind of forced me to move on, and because I felt that there wasn't anything else I could give to the job. So it's very important that if you want longevity from your employees, that you provide them with opportunities to be better, to have a career ladder, for them to feel that I can grow with this company. Unfortunately, today, many people jump from jobs. I could tell you, because I've interviewed many, many people throughout my career in management. And in my earlier career, going back 10, 15 years ago, it was common for people to stay at work 3 to 5 years. I got nervous when I saw somebody staying just for 2 years. Now, when I interview people, if I see somebody has stayed in the company for 2 years, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. They're a veteran. Thank God I've stayed at certain jobs for many years. At Turo Baruch Hashem, thank God I've been there since 2002. And as an adjunct, and I became full time in 2004. I've worked at my current job since 2012. I worked at other jobs for 8 years as well. I personally don't like jumping jobs. I like staying somewhere as long as possible. But today's generation, people like to jump from place to place. And I think part of that is because they're not offered challenging jobs. It's not just the pay, which is a factor, of course, always. Money talks. But there's also the other aspect of, where am I going to go with this? So tonight, we're going to be talking about learning objectives, explain how employee development contributes to strategies related to employee retention, development of intellectual capital, and business growth, discuss the steps in development planning process, explain the employees and company's responsibilities in planning development, discuss current trends in using formal education for development, and relate how assessment of personality type, work behaviors, and job performance can be used for employee development. We're also going to explain how job experiences can be used for skill development, develop successful mentoring programs, describe how to train managers to coach employees, which is very important. A lot of people don't want to coach. I worked for the city for a year, and my boss told me straight up he doesn't want to coach anybody. He wants a turnkey operation. He wants everybody to be the best at their position, and he just basically doesn't want to be bothered with anything. I can tell you that's the way he managed. Came late, left early, had zero connection with us. We felt like he was just floating there, and he just basically rode us. And I'm really happy I'm no longer there. Discuss what companies are doing to melt the glass ceiling, which is this artificial ceiling that prevents women from getting higher positions in management. Use the 9-box grid for identifying where employees fit in a successful plan, and construct appropriate development plans for them, which is very important. And tonight we're going to also talk about developing and training, critical for talent management, because when you develop someone, you train them, you're kind of signaling to them that you're interested in their future. It prepares millennials to replace baby boomers. It's important because baby boomers will be leaving the workforce in the next 10 years, maybe even shorter than that, because many of the baby boomers who were born in 1946, 47, have already left the workplace or about to leave, and those that were born in the 1950s will be leaving very, very shortly. I guess the ones earlier 50s will be leaving or are leaving now, and in the later 50s will be leaving very, very shortly, and in the 1960s will be leaving a little bit longer. The baby boomer generation is approximately like 1946 to 1964, something like that. I've got a while to retire, if I could ever retire. Actually, I don't know if I ever want to retire completely. I think it's always important to have something to do, whether it's a part-time job or some sort of volunteer work, because I think that once you completely retire and you don't fill your day, it's kind of bad for you. The relationship among development and training. A protean career. This is basically, it's based on self-direction with the goal of psychological success in one's work. The goal of the new career in psychological success, the feeling of pride and accomplishment that comes from achieving life goals that are not limited to achievements at work, such as raising a family and having good physical health, which is important. Both are important for your job. I think raising and having a successful family life and being healthy is integral to your job. That's why a lot of jobs have, mental health workshops and clinics, and they help you with, they give you a gym. Either they have a gym at work, or they pay you extra in your salary, or they give you a health insurance plan to pay for your gym. Gyms are super important. Now with this whole COVID virus and the whole, shelter in place, I am like a fish out of water. I don't go to the gym. And that's why I have this double chin over here that I got to get rid of after this. Actually, I'm starting on it already. But I think it's very, very important to have physical activity. It makes you more productive. So the emphasis on continuous learning has altered the direction and frequency of movement within careers, known as a career pattern. Provides opportunities for employees to determine their interests, skills, strengths, and weaknesses, and seek development experiences. I think it's very, very important. And I think it's on you. Because even if the employer doesn't want to develop you, you have to develop you. You have to learn things. And people are not always going to be nice and teach you. You have to be inquisitive. Use technology. Use Google. Use YouTube. YouTube has a plethora of amazing videos to help you. I'm helping one of my children with their MC 140 class in Turo. We have this computer class, and sometimes we get stuck and we don't know how to do something in PowerPoint or in Excel. 10 out of 10 times, there's a video, a very good video somewhere on YouTube that will show you step by step how to do something. And you have to be inquisitive. You have to want to learn. Don't expect people to just show you everything. You have to figure out ways of learning on your own. Figure 9.1, steps and responsibilities in development and development plan. So let's just jump to the text. I like text. I'm not a big fan of these, graphs and boxes and whatnot. So the 4 boxes that we have over here, which is a self-assessment, reality check, goal setting, and action plan. That's what it's referring to. Now we jump back to the appendix. 4 boxes are connected by one one-way arrow, self-assessment, reality check, goal setting, and action planning. Employees' responsibility for self-assessment is to identify opportunities and needs to improve. For reality check, you identify what needs are realistic to develop. For goal setting is identity, goal, and method to determine goal progress. And for action planning is to identify steps and timetables to reach the goal. And there's a lot of self-introspection. You have to be realistic with yourself. It's so important not to have ridiculous goals that are totally out of your reach, and not to have goals that are too easy that cheapen you. Company responsibility for self-assessment is to provide assessment information to identify your strengths, weaknesses, interests, and values. For reality check, it's to communicate performance evaluation to let you know where you're holding, and you yourself should kind of know. It's not good to live in the land of Lala. You have to have an idea of where you're holding, and if you're not sure, ask people. Where employees fits in long-range plans of company, changes in industry, profession, and workplace for goal setting is to ensure that the goal is SMART, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. We spoke about that. Commit to help employees reach their goals, and for action planning, to identify resources employee needs to reach goals, including additional assessment, courses, work experiences, and relationships, which are very, very important. If you don't give your employees resources, don't expect them to shell things out of their own pocket. Some do. I always was one to do that. I always was, I would rather spend money if they didn't want to spend money so that I could learn something. Because in today's day and age, whatever you know now can be replaced within a year or two. So you constantly must be beefing up your skills. Okay, let's just go back to the original down here. And we move on. Self-assessment, psychological tests, development needs are identified, may determine skill needs or interest. So that self-assessment, this refers to the use of information by employees to determine their career interest. Reality check refers to the information employees receive about how the company evaluates their skills and knowledge and where they fit into the company's plans. But you should also have your own reality check. And this comes from a 360-degree feedback, okay, which you spoke about in other classes. Goal setting, basically desired positions, level of skill, work setting, and skill acquisition. So this action plan action planning, which is basically a written strategy that employees use to determine how they will achieve their short and long-term career goals, which is very important to kind of ground them. Action plans may involve any one of the combination of development approaches, such as enrolling in courses and seminars, getting additional assessment, and obtaining new experiences, or finding a mentor or coach, and long-term development objectives. Table 9.2, design features of effective development systems. System is positioned as a response to a business need or supports a business strategy, obviously. That's how we're going to develop you based on the needs of the business. Of course, your personal needs, but we're not going to develop you and say, well, I'm really interested in learning how to play the violin. That's really cool, but unless that's your profession or it somehow has something to do with your profession, we're not going to develop that. We're not going to teach you how to use, how to ride a horse unless you need to know how to ride a horse. But we will teach you Excel. We'll teach you management skills, training skills. We'll do whatever it is to make you a better employee. But things that are not germane to your job, obviously you can't expect. Employees are encouraged to take an active role in career management and development. Evaluation is ongoing and used to improve the system. Business units can customize the system for their own purpose with some constraints. Moving on, employees have access to development and career information sources, including advisors and positions available. It's very important to signal to employees that you want to fill positions internally. When you take people from the outside, it signals to people that, well, there's nobody good enough internally. If that's the case, then I guess people won't care. But if there are a lot of good candidates and you didn't give people a chance from within, they're going to resent that and feel betrayed. Senior management in the company culture supports the development system. The development system is linked to other human resource practices such as performance management, training, and recruiting systems. So it's one big HRM system. A large diverse talent pool is created, and development plans and talent evaluation information are available and accessible to all managers. Figure 9.3, frequency of use of employee development practices. We're going to jump to the narrative over here. Percentage of specific practice uses. Some people, 80% classroom, 79% think coaching is important, 68% mentoring, leadership forums, 56%, high visibility assignments, 42%, which I'm shocked. I think 42% is a little bit low if you ask me. I think it's an important thing to look at. Matching employees with stretch opportunities, 35%, and job rotation, 30%. Well, job rotation is very important because it prevents boredom and it also helps employees learn different things. Okay, formal education, it could be offsite or onsite, lecture, business games and simulations, adventure learning, meeting with customers, customer programs, tuition reimbursement programs. Those are also very, very cool things. Let's look at assessment. Assessment involves collecting information and providing feedback to employees about the behavior, communication style, or skills. So within assessment, we identify employees with managerial potential and measure current managerial strengths and weaknesses. Used with work teams to identify the strengths and weaknesses of said individual teams and team members and the decision process or communication style that inhibit the team's productivity. Want to know what holds you back. And of course, can help employees understand their tendencies, their needs, type of work environment they prefer, and the type of work they might prefer to do. This is called we're going to talk about the Myers-Briggs type inventory. Basically refers to an assessment that is based on Carl Jung's personality type theory. This theory emphasizes that we have a fundamental personality type that shapes and influences how we understand the world, process information, and socialize. So basically, we measure the 16 personality types. We're not going to go into this right now. This is more of psychology. I may just post a video on this and put it up there so we could all look at it. I like to do that many times when I see that the PowerPoint kind of rushes through something and we didn't cover it as well as I'd like to. I will then post a video that kind of speaks to that particular point. If I see something very, very important in a chapter, I'll post a YouTube video to kind of speak to that. Each type has implications for work habits and interpersonal relationships. DISC assessment measures personality and behavioral styles, which is another type of assessment out there. An assessment center Basically is multiple raters or evaluators, assessors evaluate employees' performance on a number of exercises. In a leaderless group discussion, a team of 5 to 7 employees is assigned a problem and must work together to solve within a certain time period. In the interview, employees answer questions about their work and personal experiences, for example, in any interview, skills, strengths, and weaknesses, and career plans. And in basket is a simulation of the administrative task of the manager's job, which is kind of like another type of simulation. And in role play, the participant takes part of a role play of a manager's or other employee. So this is the equivalent of, if you're a baseball fan, throwing a simulated game where you throw a pitch and you see whether the person hits it, grounds it out. Same way as a manager, we kind of want to test you out in the real world and see what's going on. Let's talk about 360. We mentioned that earlier. In performance appraisals and 360-degree feedback systems. So upward feedback basically refers to appraisals that involves collecting subordinates' evaluation of managers, behaviors, or skills. The 360 feedback process is a special case of upward feedback, which employees' behaviors or skills are evaluated not only by subordinates, but also peers, customers, the bosses, and the employees themselves. So it's 360. It's all over the place. It's all over, and everybody gets to evaluate you, which is good because then people know where they stand. Table 9.6, activities involved in using the 360 feedback for development. Understand strengths and weaknesses. It's important. It's hard to look at your weaknesses. People don't like to be criticized. But I think if you really want to have personal growth in all aspects of your life, your spiritual life, financial life, your relationships, you need to be someone who's in tune with your weaknesses and understand where you need to, where and how to improve. Review ratings for strengths and weaknesses. Identify skills or behaviors where self and others, managers, peers, customers rating agree and disagree. Identify a development goal. Choose a skill or behavior to develop. Set a clear, specific goal with a specific outcome. Identify a process for recognizing goal accomplishment. Identify strategies for reaching the development goal. Establish strategies such as reading, job experiences, courses, and relationships. Establish strategies for receiving feedback on progress. And it's so important to have feedback. I would hate to work in a place where I had no idea where I was standing. And establish strategies for reinforcing the new skill or behavior. Stretch assignments. These refer to assignments in which there is a mismatch between the employee's skills and past experiences and the skills required for success on the job. And as such, people could learn things, push themselves, but they could fail as well. It could have positive or negative stressors, may include enlarging the current job rotation, transfers, promotions, downward moves if necessary, moving from the major leagues to the minor leagues, so to speak, and temporary assignments. So they can have positive or negative aspects as well. Figure 9.4 talks about how job experiences are used for employee development. Basically, just to look at a couple of things here. Transfer could be a lateral move, which is good because people just may not like their current work environment. They may just feel like they're inhibited. There are many insular people that don't want to teach you, don't want to work well with you. So sometimes a transfer is called for. Job rotation, which is good. Promotion, of course, that's what you want to go for. And unfortunately, sometimes there's a downward move. Or there could be a temporary assignment project or volunteer work to help you beef up your skills. Job enlargement. We speak about this briefly in Principles of Management. Refers to adding challenges and new responsibilities to employees' current jobs. Let me just tell you this. If you do that without paying them more, good luck. People will take it as an insult. I'm just talking from personal experience. So again, we talk about special projects, special assignments, switching roles within a work team, or researching new ways to serve clients and customers. Job rotation and lateral moves helps employees gain an overall appreciation of the company's goals, increases their understanding of different company functions, develops a network of contacts, and increases employees' skills. May affect employee satisfaction and, of course, motivation. We move on to job experience, transfer, promotion, and downward moves. Employees are more willing to accept promotions than lateral or downward moves. Many involve relocation within the U.S. or to another country and can provoke anxiety. I know that in Japan, if they really want to shaft you and make you feel bad, they'll just transfer you somewhere where you don't want to go. And that's a good way to kind of signal to somebody that we don't like you. start looking for a new job. Temporary assignments refer to job tryouts, such as employees taking a position to help them determine if they're interested in working in a new role. This can be done, let's say somebody's going on a long-term vacation. Almost happened to me. I was working in a hospital about 24 years ago, actually. It was a miserable job that I had. I don't want to go into it because it's not really necessary. Miserable bosses, totally dead end. And the VP of the department kind of felt bad for me, knew that I was suffering, so he was willing to give me a shot at a night shift position within the same department, but a little bit more of more pay, significantly more pay. And also, I think it was better for like an overall management position, but it was night shift. Who wants to work the night shift? Well, when you're as miserable as I was willing to work on the night shift on the moon. But in any case, the purpose of that thought was a temporary assignment to kind of groom me into that position, so when it becomes permanently available, I'd be able to move into that position. So this involves temporary assignments, volunteer work, and sabbatical. Sabbatical refers to a leave of absence from the company for personal reflection, renewal, and skill development. This is something that happens in academia. I've never been on a sabbatical, and I don't think I'd like a sabbatical. I think I belong in the classroom. That's where I'm happiest. And let's move on. If I took a sabbatical, I'd take a semester off, not an entire year. Mentoring basically is an experienced, productive senior employee who helps develop a less experienced employee known as the protege. So mentoring usually starts informally, but may be part of a formal mentoring program, developing successful mentor programs. Table 9.9, characteristics of successful formal mentoring. Well, before we go into the specifics, I could just tell you that a mentor is somebody who is going to be very, very patient and very, very interested in teaching. And if a person is not very much into teaching, that's going to lead to very, very, very bad things, and of course, improper mentoring, and we don't want that. So mentor and protege participation is voluntary. Obviously, can't force somebody to be a mentor. Relationship can be ended at any time without fear of punishment. The mentor/protege matching process does not limit the ability of informal relationships to develop. For example, a mentor pool can be established to allow proteges to choose from a variety of qualified mentors. So we can kind of give you like this cafeteria style where you're able to choose who you want to mentor and who you want to be mentored by. Mentors are chosen on the basis of their past recording in developing employees' willingness to serve as a mentor and evidence of positive coaching, communication, and listening skills. Mentor-protege matching is based on how the mentor's skills can help meet the protege needs, and the purpose of the program is clearly understood. Projects and activities that the mentor and protege are expected to complete are specified. Table 9.9, continued characteristics of successful formal mentoring programs, slide 2 of 2. The length of the program is specified. Mentor and protege are encouraged to pursue the relationships beyond the formal period. A minimum level of contact between the mentor and protege is specified. Mentors and proteges need to determine when they will meet, how often, and how they will communicate outside the meetings. Proteges are encouraged to contact one another to discuss problems and, of course, share successes. So it's important to have that interchange. The mentor program is evaluated. Interviews with mentors and proteges give immediate feedback regarding specific areas of dissatisfaction where we could improve it. Surveys gather more detailed information regarding benefits received from participating in the program, so we kind of get a full roundhouse view of what's going on. Employee development is rewarded, which signals to managers that mentoring and other development activities are worth their time and effort. Approaches to employee development. We have the interpersonal approach, mentoring, benefit of mentoring relationship, career support, and psychosocial support, and reverse mentoring. Reverse mentoring is where the protege actually teaches. If you want to really look at it as a teacher, I try to disseminate what I know, but I personally learn a lot from you guys when you tell me about your experiences, and I learn different things and different skills, and that's an important thing. Like somebody in the last class taught me something in Zoom that I never knew was possible. They showed me where the button was, they Googled it, and I learned something, and everybody else learned something. It was really, really gratifying. And that only happens when you don't have an ego and you realize you don't have all the answers, and it's okay not to know everything. And even as a professor, many times I'll teach a course I'll come across a term and I'll say, you know what, I'm not really sure what it means. But that's okay. We could always figure it out. But when a mentor is someone who is very, very staunch and, this is the way it's got to be and doesn't want to listen to anybody else, I wouldn't go for that. You have to have a convivial, friendly relationship between the mentor and the protege. There has to be a good fit, and not always is there a good fit. And you have to find somebody that you fit in well with. A coach is a peer or manager who works with the employees to motivate them, help them develop skills, and provide reinforcement and feedback. And that's very, very important. So coaching is a one-on-one or help employees learn for themselves. And of course, they provide resources. And this really comes from the world of sports. You have a pitching coach who'll sit there with a pitcher and analyze their the arc of the arm and see that, do a video of them. They'll do a motion study. They'll look at the efficiency of the pitch and tell them, listen, if you move your finger this way slightly, you'll have more spin on the ball. You have more spin on the ball, that's more likely to get a pop-up or a ground ball or something that'll be an eventual out. And I could do that at work. I could tell you, you know what, I've been noticing that you are doing really, really well in this area, but in the realm of, let's say, dealing with stress, I think you could do a better job. And I think the best way to be a coach and the best way to be a mentor is to take people out to lunch. And I think the business should pay for this. Honestly, it's worth it. It doesn't have to be an elaborate lunch. It could be a cup of coffee. It could be a Danish. It could just be a walk around the block. And I think it builds a beautiful relationship. And of course, when you're mentored and you're coached, you tend to stay longer at the job because you feel like there's worth. Special issues in employee development. Glass ceiling is a barrier to advancement to higher levels in the community that adversely affects women and minorities. It's not just women, it's minorities. The barrier may be due to lack of access to training programs, development experience, or relationships. And many times, from my experience, people that grew up in, let's say, lower income areas of society, they already have preconceived notions of where they could be in society. They're like, nah, the best I could be is, this low level position. And, I'll be in the mailroom like my father was in the mailroom. Nothing wrong with being in the mailroom, but people want to aspire to higher levels of salary and higher positions. Many times minorities or people will feel like, oh, this is the best that I could ever do because they won't let me. So they box themselves out of positions because of prior racism, prior bigotry, which is really, really sad. Women are underrepresented at all levels of management, unfortunately. But as a saving grace, I do want to explain there's another aspect. And a lot of these, academia is very liberal in general. And what I'm about to say may cause a lot of backlash, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm entitled to my opinion. Not all women don't get jobs in higher levels like CEOs and assistant vice presidents because they're women. It's because some women realize that there'll be a disconnect between their family aspirations, like having kids and raising them, and the needs of the job. And many times they'll choose having that family relationship, having those extra kids, because that's more important to them. And they realize that it's going to be very hard and sometimes impossible to be the CEO of a major company and be home on time to give supper to your kids and give them the bath. And they'll just choose one over the other. So that could be one reason, not related to preventing people from getting higher level positions, just because people themselves choose not to pursue those positions. And I think that's a balanced way of looking at it, because there are people. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I unlocked it. Okay. So as I was saying that, there are ways of, explaining why women don't end up in these high-level corporate jobs outside of the glass ceiling. I don't think it's fair that the glass ceiling is represented as or the way people look at it is that that's the reason why women can't pass, because you got all these, the old boys club, they're preventing women from getting up there, which is true. There is an element of that. And again, I don't know the percentages here. I'm not really interested in percentages. That definitely is a major component, but women choose to have families. You don't believe me? Go out and look. Look at how many women have multiple kids. Not even in our communities, but in other communities, people have a couple of kids, 2 kids, 3 kids, even 1 child. You need to spend time with that child. And being, having this high level, high stress job will prevent you from meeting those goals. Many people choose to start their careers later in life. And as a result, it takes them a longer time to get to those higher positions. Listen, there's no one situation. There are many, many different kinds of situations. I'm just trying to give you a balanced scorecard perspective. I'm not here, and God forbid, in any way to take away from the importance of women being in the workforce. I think women are super talented, super smart, definitely underrepresented, but there are situations where women themselves choose to bow out because they realize the demands and the rigors of the position will preclude them from having a family or will preclude them from having the number of children that they really, really want to have. And life's about choices. Life's about a cost-benefit analysis. You take something, right? You buy something very expensive, you have less money left in your wallet. You know, you want to have a large family, you want to be a homemaker, then it's going to be hard for you to be a CEO. But that doesn't mean you can't be successful. You can have a home business, a lot of cottage businesses, internet businesses, Amazon businesses. Today we have many opportunities for people that want to have families where they can also do work at home, work from a computer, and make lots of money. But definitely there are women that are unfortunately held back. I know Walmart as a company has been in the news a lot where they were not respectful to women, and definitely a tremendous underrepresentation of women in their workforce as far as management positions is concerned. I will definitely not argue about that. But the glass ceiling may be due to stereotypes, lack of access to training, programs, appropriate development, job experiences, and developmental relationships, which is very, very important to understand. Okay, I am glad I just got out of that without having anybody yell at me for being bigoted in any way. You know, we live in this world of political correctness. So you have to be really careful what you say. To be honest with you, I don't think I said anything offensive, and everybody got offended out there. And you're watching this YouTube video, what should I tell you? You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. And that's where we'll leave it. God bless America. We're allowed to have opinions. Table 9.10, recommendations for melting the glass ceiling. It's a silly way of calling it melting. You don't melt glass, you break glass. Oh well. Make sure senior management supports and is involved in the program, because if you don't have senior management involved, you don't have senior management engaged, supporting it, it won't have that same level of importance. People won't look up to it. And, that's important. We want to make sure that everybody is basically properly represented. Make a business case for change that it helps the business. Make the change public. People should know about it. It should get out in the news. Gather data on problems causing the glass ceiling using task forces, focus groups, and questionnaires. Create awareness of how gender attitudes affect the work environment. Force accountability through reviews of promotion rates and assigned decisions. And promote development for all employees. But it really boils down to senior management. Ultimately, if they're not supporting this, none of this is going to happen. Succession planning. The worst thing you could do is think that you're going to live forever or you're going to work forever. I had this discussion with somebody at work. Every time he goes on vacation or he's not there, the stuff that he's in charge of always ends up on my plate. And my boss leans on me and says, hey, I need you to take care of this. And I'm not comfortable because I don't he works in a different area, in a clinical area, and that means I have to get involved with it. And I don't mind learning new things, but I get frustrated when I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm kind of winging it, especially when I'm winging something as important as that. So I think it's very important for people to know that there has to be a certain level of cross-training. So succession planning requires senior management to systematically review leadership talent in the company to see who could be good at taking over positions, ensure that top-level managerial talent is available. Remember, always try to promote from within. Provides a set of development experiences that managers must complete to be considered for top management positions. Help attract and retain managerial employees by providing them with development opportunities, and depend on other human resource systems, including compensation, training, and development, and staffing. Slide 31, identify what positions are included in the plan, identify the employees who are included in the plan, develop standards to evaluate the positions and make sure those standards are fair, which are based on competencies, things that you're good at, things that you need to be good at, know, desired experiences, desired knowledge, and developmental value. Determine how employees' potential will be measured through current performance and potential performance. Develop the succession planning review, and people should be identified and know. Link the succession planning system with other human resource systems, including training and development, which kind of grooms people to become that. Compensation, performance management, and staffing systems should all be integrated. Determine what feedback is provided to employees and measure the effectiveness of the succession plan. Figure 9.5 is basically an example of a 9-box grid. It talks about different types of employee types. We look over here, we'll go to the description. A 9-box grid is a 3x3 matrix with the y-axis performance and the x-axis labeled potential or promotability, which is important. We want to see how likely is it that somebody can be promoted. The boxes are labeled from left to right and bottom to top. 1 is a poor employee, 2 is an inconsistent employee, 3 is potential or may be replaced, 4 is strong contributor, 5 is core employee, 6 is a rising star, 7 is a technical or subject expert, which are very much in demand. Agile, 9 performers, meaning those are the people that need to be brought into the fold and challenged, and of course, stars. Notice how it's important to look at non-performers, but understand that some of them can be non-performing because they're not being properly challenged. Okay, that ends tonight's class. If anybody has any questions, anybody have any questions? We're good? Okay, then I bid everybody a good evening.